Wednesday. Every single Wednesday during the fantasy football season, you can find me here, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, going live on CBS Sports Radio, 1580 The Fantatic with Russ Bliss. We have the longest fantasy football radio show right here. Then there's no one with a longer fantasy football radio show in the world. This show has been going for 23 years. 23! And we are here every Wednesday night for you. I'm live streaming it every Wednesday night for you. From my side of the fence, Russ is about to call me. We're going to go live on CBS Sports Radio, and you guys get to see it here live every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here from my side of the fence, streamed live. I can't wait. I love this show. I love doing it for you guys, and I'm so pumped that this year you get to see it live streamed from my show. So hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up on your way in, and make sure notifications are turned on. What's going on, Ugly Dude? What's going on, Grant? What's going on, Bender? What's going on, My Ball? What's going on, John? And just a little warning and reminder, while I'm live, I can't read 100 or 200 messages going by, so please don't say, Smitty, why are you ignoring my question while I'm in the middle of a live stream and live radio show? I can't read individual questions while I'm going live. I will try to read it during the breaks and when we go to commercial, no problem. But just know, I cannot read every question, and I don't mean to offend anybody, and it always seems to, so know that up front. I love you all! Why would I offend you? Love the Hilliard Deep Sleeper, says Bender, I love it too. We are ready to rumble here on CBS Sports Radio, 1580 The Fantatic. Again, every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to go live here on Instagram and let people know we are here and ready to go. Ask questions while we wait, no problem whatsoever. I don't mind answering the questions while we wait to go live. But that will be probably in about 4 or 5 minutes. We'll be going on. We'll be at least getting the call, and then we'll be on hold. So I got to make sure I work out all the audio, make sure that's good. No Todd Gurley.
No means no.
While we wait, yes on Daryl Henderson. I need to get a yes button. I only have the button. So wait on drafting Zeke Ellliott.
No. 1,000 times no.
You guys didn't listen to all the noise about Zeke's going to hold out for more than 2 or 3, 4 games. No, you guys know what's up. All of us benefited from that mess, and man, I can't wait to see Zeke eat on the field in week 1. And you know who's next? You guys know who's next. And yes, Dodger just took a dump. I can't even clean it. I don't have time. I have to come live on the show. I am not joking. There is a dump sitting out there, and I'm going to be in big trouble because I didn't clean it up. I didn't have time. I was running in. I'm setting this up so I can go live, and I left the dump sitting there. Sorry. Gonna get in trouble. Did you hear about Melvin Gordon and Jordan Howard? Yeah, there was a potential offer. Jordan Howard for Melvin Gordon got shot down. I'm not surprised. Why would they do that? Jordan Howard is, I don't think, going to be much in 2019, and I think everybody else knows that. So I don't know why that was. That's like some of the offers I get in some of my fantasy leagues. Hey, Smitty, I'll give you A.J. Green for your Mike Thomas. That's what that offer was. I wonder if the Chargers felt that way when they got that offer. They're like, what the hell? I'm posting this to everybody so they see what you offered me, that horse crap. That's probably what they did. You know when you get that owner that sends you awful offers and you're like, I'm going to post these offers so everybody sees them because your offers are so bad. That's what the Chargers did when they're like, hey, newswires, we got to offer Jordan Howard for our Melvin Gordon. That's exactly what it's like. They should be calling us here any second so we can go live on CBS Sports Radio, 1580 The Fantatic. If you're over on Instagram, let me type this in. Go to on live CBS Sports Radio. Viewable on youtube.com. Okay, we're getting a call. Hold on one second. This is Smitty. Yeah, let me just switch. Make sure you can hear me better. Let me switch mics. Can you hear me okay now? Okay, let's go. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right, guys, we're on hold. It's Smitty time. It's Zeke Ellliott time. It's all kinds of time right now. It's fantasy football time. It's week 1 time. It's Melvin Gordon buy low time. It's buy Daryl Henderson low time. If you missed it, youtube.com/the fantasy football show. Instagram. And Instagram, no, I'm not going to be able to answer the questions while I'm live streaming and doing a live radio show. So don't get mad at me and say, hey, Smitty, why aren't you answering my question while you're live and busy? What trade Cook or Bell for Monty? Would you trade Cook or Bell? Why would I trade Dalvin? Take a lap.
No.
Dalvin Cook? I love Monty. But Dalvin Cook is like a top 5 or 6 overall player. Montgomery goes in round 4, sometimes round 3, which is a steal. Okay, we'll check in with them every couple seconds here. Can you guys hear Russ okay? Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear Russ? Can you guys hear Russ okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear him. Yes, no? He's talking right now. Can you not hear him? How about now?
You want to come out? By all means, I invite you. And remember, you can fill out 3 different entries. You come out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can fill out 3 totally different rosters. Go for something that no one has ever done. In the 20 years we've been doing the Fantasy Challenge, I have never had someone take first, second, and third in the same week. We've had first and second, we've had first and third, we've had second and third, but we have never had one person do the trifecta and take all 3. You could be the first one this year. You could be the first one in the last 20 years, but only if you come out all 3 nights and play the free fantasy challenge. Now, joining us on the program from the fantasyfootballshow.com and sleeperu.com, as he has for the last 16, 17, God knows how many years it's been. I've known Smitty for a very long time. Smitty, my friend.
How's it going, Russ? You cut out there, but you're back. How's it going, Russ? Yeah, it's been 16 years.
I'm not hearing Smitty in my headphones, but I see that I am connected. So if we can figure out what's going on with that, that would be fantastic.
Russ, can you hear me now, Russ?
Yeah. It's like a Verizon commercial.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to have a little audio show on my side. Yes, Russ, it's been 16 years that I've been just so happy to be on your show, and I hope it's another 16 years. And it's just one of the times I look forward to most during the fantasy football season. Talking now on Wednesday nights from 7 Pacific and now 10 p.m. Eastern for a whole hour with you, getting ready for that Thursday night game. I couldn't be more excited. And Zeke Ellliott gets to eat. That's the most important thing to mention tonight.
Oh, yeah, he gets to eat really well. Ezekiel Ellliott could come out here to Santisi Brothers and buy everyone here crab legs and not even blink an eye with that new contract that he's signed. But I just want to go back to something you said. Another 16 years? Boy, you give me a longer life expectancy than my doctor does.
Well, I think you'll make it, Russ. You've been, as long as you make it through this weekend when you got to wear that Patriots jersey for losing that bet.
You don't know how much that's killing me, that I have to actually wear that thing on Friday for a full 8.5 hours at work.
Yeah.
I am just like, ugh. Tom Brady. Well, there's a nut deflator if I ever heard one.
Yep.
Anyways, 888-368-1580, that is the text line if you've got questions. Smitty and I are here to provide you with some answers to your fantasy football questions. Tell everybody about what you're doing. You're back in your home studio. You've got everything hooked up. We're simulcasting, I do believe, on the fantasyfootballshow.com YouTube page.
Yep, you can go to youtube.com/thefantasyfootballshow or go to thefantasyfootballshow.com. It'll redirect you right to the show. But yes, I'm live right now. I've got an awesome group of people that join me on lives all the time. I go live almost every day, Russ, here on the YouTube show. And it's fantasy content just like we're delivering in your radio format, but in video format. And, of course, I've got sleeperu.com where you can get all my bold predictions and stuff that you can kind of hear me sprinkle into this show from time to time.
Now, Smitty, let's go ahead and start off by playing a game of true or false. So I'm going to give some fantasy football advice for those going into week number 1. You tell me whether you agree and think it's true or whether you disagree and think it's false, and thus Russ is giving bad advice.
Okay.
Stuff on our board. Start your studs regardless of matchups. This holds true for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. Proven fantasy studs will sometimes have dud games, and sometimes those dud games come at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Let them play themselves out of being a stud before starting to bench a guy or starting a guy from your bench over your studs.
Yeah, always start your studs, but I think the toughest part is realizing when a guy falls from grace, or if you're like in the example of David Montgomery, is he a stud? You're predicting him to be a stud, so do you start him over players that maybe are potentially losing that kind of label or whatever? But yes, for the most part, you start your studs. The one example I'd have, Russ, that I want to throw at you is I've got like Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers in week 1. I want to start Aaron Rodgers. I never want to bench Aaron Rodgers, but he's going against the Bears Thursday night. What are your thoughts like in those kinds of situations?
I'm going to continue to start my studs. Something that Gary said in the last hour of the program is that if you ever bench Aaron Rodgers because of a matchup and then he goes out and he's Aaron Rodgers for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns, you are going to spend the next 3 days kicking yourself and praying that your other quarterback play even comes close to the numbers.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, yeah, for the most part, always start your studs. True. The answer is true, Russ.
Okay, next one. Matchups right now are totally based on paper and speculation. Don't give too much credence to a perceived great or bad matchup. Defenses can be surprisingly good or bad from year to year. Let a few games be played before really basing some of your roster decisions purely on the matchup.
Yeah, and defenses change from year to year. Offenses get better. There's so many things that go into that where I don't take it into account at all. Even during drafting, I don't say, oh, well, this guy's got a bad playoff schedule. When all things are equal, I might look at something like that. But for the most part, I'm going back to your first question, starting your studs, even with a schedule that looks pretty bad. I'm not worried about defensive stuff as much as other people.
So, true or false on that one?
Yeah, so the question was, don't worry about it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so true.
Next one, always check your news wires on Saturday afternoon to see if there are updates to your players' statuses, and again on Sunday morning. Game day inactives usually get announced an hour or so before each game starts. Be paying attention to those, and be ready to make roster adjustments.
True, and also be subscribed to youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show and listening to our show, Russ, because we're going to tell you who's going to get who's banged up and all that too. So yeah, not only checking news wires, but trusting your sources that are out there, gathering it from all different news sources, because your news source is like one lead that you have, whereas you can go to somebody like us, Russ, and we're going to have be hitting with left and right from this stuff. So up until the last second, Russ. So I'm going to say false. I'm going to say up until the last second.
Okay, next one. Fantasy championships are not won at the draft. You have to be active on your waiver free agent wire and start the right guys each week. A great draft sets you up for success, but if you don't maintain your roster with key free agent moves, you're dooming yourself. Rarely does the team you finish the season with look close to exactly the same as the team you drafted.
Yeah, true. And especially for someone like me, Russ, where I have sleeperu.com, which is all about sleepers. I'm all about stacking my teams a lot of times through trade, doing 2-for-1 trades, and auctions, spending all my money on like 5 guys, and literally loading up on these sleepers that I love predicting and landing year after year after year, and that includes the waiver wire sleepers. That includes the Philip Lindsays that you're gonna pick up after week 1 or week 2. And I have a couple for you that we'll toss out hopefully this later this show that you might want to keep an eye on and grab before they become the guy that everybody's chasing in week 1, week 2, week 3. True.
I have a couple of those myself to throw out. We'll go ahead and we'll see whether or not we agree with each other.
Okay.
Final one for true or false. Don't outcoach yourself. Fantasy football is supposed to be about having fun, building camaraderie with your friends. Don't fret and worry over every decision. It takes the fun out of it.
Yes, don't overthink yourself. Typically, when you go back and forth on a start or whatever, you're always making the wrong move when you've been at it too long, and you end up making that cute move where you put in somebody just because you're excited that they're playing on Thursday night and you want to see them play tonight. Those are always the bad moves. You need to make a sound decision that isn't influenced by your excitement for that particular game or watching that game, or it's a TV game and you're not going to see the other player. How many people do that? They start the guy that's on TV so that they can watch him. Be cool-headed, and whenever you're struggling really, really hard with something, it's probably because you're tending to lean the wrong way.
He's Smitty from the Fantasy Football Show and SleeperU.com. He joins us every Wednesday night in the 7 o'clock hour of this radio program. Smitty, we're going to put you on hold, bring you up on the other side, continue the conversation. If we get any texts at 888-368-1580, we'll definitely go over some of the questions that the listeners have.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're on hold. I'm going to answer your questions as best as I can, as fast as I can. Thank you, Copter. Hit me with it. Any fresh questions, post them now. I'm not going to scroll back up, but I will help you until we go live. 10-team PPR. I don't own Zeke or Melvin. I own Eckler. Do I drop Pollard for Justin Jackson? No, I don't drop Pollard. Pollard is a hold, guys. I can't tell you how many people are looking to drop Darwin Thompson and Pollard. These are really, really good players to have on your bench. Now, let me preface that if you're in a small league, of course, if there's a Devin Singletary on waivers or a Darrell Henderson, you need to grab that player. But if you are in a league where you're saying, hey, should I drop Pollard, Smitty, so that I can pick up Cole Beasley? The answer is
No.
Should I drop Pollard to pick up, some scrub wide receiver or Kenny Stills? No. The answer is no. Pollard falls in line with those running backs that I've been talking about from round 7 through 12, where you stockpile these guys. If there was no Zeke Elliott holdout, thank you, Eric. If there was no Zeke Elliott holdout talk at all, and let's say Zeke just came right into camp or they signed him right away, Pollard would be one of the names that I would tell you, go get this guy like Madison. Go get this guy like Darrell Henderson. Go get him like Devin Singletary, who's now looking like a complete land. Those are the players that you go get, you stockpile in rounds 7 through 12 because they will win you your league once they turn in from a pumpkin into a freaking second-round talent. That's how you win your league. And Pollard has the makings of that. And not only that, hold him over the head of the owner of Zeke Ellliott. And they might act like, ooh, I don't need him anyways, but I was going to inquire, so keep him. And let him stew on that for a week or two. I guarantee they'll be back. Why would they not want to back him up? Why?
We never use subcontractors. Just highly trained.
Just checking in. So hold him. But it depends on who. So if it's picking up Devin Singletary, then yeah, you got to do that. But if you're in a small league, it's a shame you got to let him go. Dontrell Hilliard I'll be talking about on this show. Don't you worry about it. Drafted Baker, Kamara, Cook, Kittle, Mike Williams, Dede. Excellent job. Fantastic. Damian Williams or Phillip Lindsay. I go Damian. I'm still a believer in Damian. I think people have freaked out a little too much on that. Diggs, we'll find out. He's hurt, so.
Or schedule online at a1garage.com.
Still on hold. Zeke draft in the first round. Able to, what? What, Sam? Zeke draft able in first round. I don't know what that means. I know you're not asking me if you should draft Zeke in the first round. Otherwise, you'd be taking 4 laps for that one. Smitty, you trading Damian Williams and Evans for Cook, Madison, and Hilton? Damian Williams, Evans for Cook, Madison, Hilton. That is a tough one. That is a very, very tough one.
The guard can open doors to a great civilian career.
Let me try and wrap my head around that because I'm doing 10 different things at once. Williams and Evans for Cook, Madison, Hilton. I probably take Cook. That's so hard because Damian Williams still has the makings of a low-end running back 1, but you have to go with Cook, I think, in that example. What do you guys think? Answer that question for him because that's a tough one. I think if you're predicting that Damian isn't going to fall as far from grace as everybody predicts, then you obviously like the Damian side. If you think Damian's going to fall apart.
In fantasy football in the NFL every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. only on 1580 AM, 99.3 FM, The Fanatic, Arizona's new home for sports. Cars and coffee with...
Drop Coleman for Breda. I don't, probably at this point. Who knows? Who knows who's going to be better, Breda or Hilton? If you guys don't know, I'm live on CBS Sports Radio. We're on a commercial break. You can find me right there. Viewable on youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show. Get on over if you want to watch the live interactive show, and I'm answering questions here. Cook and Hilton, says Kyle. Smitty, Hopkins, Odell, and Adams. Pick 2. Odell... Oh, God. Adams and Odell, put Adams on the bench just this week, but that's a crazy dilemma you have.
Talking fantasy football in the NFL on 1580 AM, 99.3 FM, Arizona's new home for the NFL and Super Bowl 54. Joined on the program by our good buddy Smitty from the Fantasy Football Show and SleeperU.com. Yep. We're also taking your texts at 888-368-1580. That's 888-368-1580. We'll get to some of the texts in just a few minutes. But, Smitty, wanted to ask you, how'd your drafts go this year?
My drafts went fantastic, Russ, and I've been peddling a few things like I usually do, Russ, where I beat a dead horse over and over and over on a few topics and put my money where my mouth is. And Zeke Ellliott has been something I've been pushing all week. I talked about it last week. Go get this guy and trade if you've already drafted and people are freaking out. I drafted him. I believe it ended up being 9 of my 13 leagues so far that I own him in. I own Pollard in most of them. So what I was preaching was Pollard and Zeke together. As we talked in the show, 3 weeks even of Pollard and 13 of Elliott would have been a 1-3 running back and maybe even ironically been a highest scoring total, like I was telling you earlier on the show last week, Russ. So I've been telling everybody all week, go get him, go get him, go get him. And then people in drafts, Russ, where he's falling to 5, 6, 7, are asking me if he's there at 8, what do I do, Smitty? Do I take him? And it's just like I've been scratching my head all week as people have been continuing to doubt this, and I'm like, I'm putting everything on this for this week. And so I went live like for 3 hours at a time talking about this. So I own Zeke everywhere. I'm as happy as can be. He's ready to eat. I'm ready to feed him, and I'm just excited.
Now, are you besides Ezekiel Ellliott and Tony Pollard, are you heavily invested in any other players on multiple rosters?
You know, I get a lot of heat, Russ, for my take Pat Mahomes early and forget what everybody else says about this taking a QB early and late second round is early to so many people, which is just garbage to me. I understand the approach that you want to wait. I'm not ripping on anybody's approach to wait. I sometimes wait. But I actually have been very disappointed, Russ, that I hadn't landed him in enough leagues because people were sniping me left and right and taking him in the early second. And so the last couple of drafts, I made it a focal point no matter what that I was going to get Mahomes because I wanted him in a couple of my money leagues. So the last 2 or 3, I drafted him. So I finally got an accumulation of a lot of Pat Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers, I own in a lot of leagues. I'm a big believer in anchoring your team with a 40 TD passer. I always take one of those QBs I think could be a 40 TD guy. I do not wait to the extent other people wait. So I have Rodgers in a ton of leagues. I have Baker in a ton of leagues. I have Watson in a couple, and I have Mahomes in a ton of leagues now. And I literally don't, I think, have a roster where I don't own one of those guys. And they are super big anchors for me to add to the already high-scoring studs that I like to load my team up with. Kamara, I own in a lot. Odell in a number. And then Dalvin Cook, I am all in on. I own him in 7, 8 leagues.
Now, is there anyone that you just absolutely stayed away from in your drafts?
No Todd Gurley. No Todd Gurley, Russ.
I couldn't help it in one league. I had to take him. He was the best player that was available at the time, and I just had to pull the trigger on it.
Mixon's another one, Russ, because that they're injured, up and down the line. You have A.J. Green out for who knows how long. You have very inexperienced coaches that people are excited about, but there's no head coaching experience between the two, the OC and the head coach. They're converted QB coaches, handed their putty, their wheelhouse is QBs, and they're handed Andy Dalton, who I don't believe in at all. And I just think that Mixon's going to see a lot of 3-and-outs. He's already got a little bit of that injury worry with his knee. Everybody says, oh, he's not injury prone. Well, I worry about it. And then his attitude and decision making, mix all that together, and it just feels like a ticking time bomb to me. And so I've stayed clear of Mixon. I've stayed clear of Cooper Kupp at what sometimes is high number 4 or 4th round value. I've stayed away from Edelman in the 3rd round where people are totally reaching. Those have been my stay-aways. James Conner, who I predicted on this show, Russ, would be my number 2 bold prediction of last year. I'm staying away from him even because I feel the same recipes in store for 2019 where Samuels and Snell are going to be your secret dynamite stash on your roster, win a league duo, and Conner, who's getting taken oftentimes too early, in even as high as 12, 13, 14, where I think he has a lot of room to disappoint. But if you handcuff him, you might be okay.
Here we go. I'm going to put the ball on the tee for you and let you just go ahead and swing away at this because I know that you are all in on things like my next question. You just mentioned 2 of them with Samuels and Benny Snell, but is there anyone who went undrafted in most leagues that you are keeping a keen eye on for pickup if any type of injury happens in the week?
I've been going on a rant lately, Russ. A very weird feeling I get. I get it once in a while. A lot of people call me, more gut-driven than stat-driven, which I don't think is necessarily fair or true. But I let my gut talk a lot. And one guy I have a weird feeling about, and I loved what I saw from him. I love the team's trust in him. And I think he's in a situation that is just not being looked at. The writing seems to be on the wall that there's an opportunity here for him, and that's Dontrell Hilliard, the backup running back for the Cleveland Browns. If you own Nick Chubb, I feel like you got to own this guy because he is the only thing standing in the way, or the only thing that's standing in your favor if Chubb goes down, of continuing on those top 5 to 10 running back numbers that I think are almost guaranteed to be produced by this Cleveland Browns rushing attack. And let me preface this, Russ, because people take this the wrong way. I love Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is a top 5 to 10 running back per start, but he's also one of the most aggressive runners in the entire NFL.
Are we having issues with the connection? Oh, okay. Just Smitty, we're going to try and dial you back up here in just a few moments. I'm going to finish out the segment here, and we'll see whether or not we can get you back on, because your mic started cutting in and out on us on that, and definitely want to get your opinions on a lot of other things that I've got to ask you about. As far as guys, well, I'm going to save that for later when we talk about the bold predictions.
Okay.
But, let's go ahead and do a couple of texts. 888-368-1580. This is Chris. Love the show.
More technical difficulties. It always happens. It always happens, especially when you're dealing with like they're a live remote from a pub bar. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you now.
Let me switch over to my and tell me if this is. Oh no, I'm still there. Okay, you got me.
Yep.
Okay, good.
All right, I'll let him know.
In Rivers, he's got a great matchup this week against Indianapolis, but Russell Wilson also has a pretty good matchup as well, taking on. Let's see, Seattle is at home, I do believe, against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals defensively challenged. Oh, good. We do have Smitty back before the break. Smitty, did you hear the question on that? Sorry about that. You were cutting out on us.
Yeah.
But glad to have you back.
Yeah, no, what was the question, Russ?
Let's see. Would you start Phillip Rivers or Russell Wilson, and also Mike Williams or Curtis Samuel?
I start Russell Wilson, I think, all the time. He's just so capable. He starts off slow a lot, but I think I'm going to not assume that that's always going to be the case. But Wilson, and then I like Williams right now, but Curtis Samuel is somebody I'm really excited about once he gets going. So that could be a dilemma for him moving forward. But for right now, I think Williams is probably the safer pick.
And then one more text before we go to break. Who do I start, Cam Newton or Tom Brady?
I'm rolling with Tom Brady. Cam's supposed to play, but he could be limited, and I just think Tom Brady's very undervalued heading into this year. He's got Josh Gordon back. Edelman is getting drafted super high, so people obviously have high expectations for Edelman. So losing Gronk, everybody freaked out about that, but getting Gordon back, having Edelman there, I think they, and Demaryius Thomas could end up even developing a little bit. And then they've got White, they have Harris, they have Sony Michel. They're loaded. And I think that he might have a really undervalued season. If you got him as your number 2 QB, you might have a real good situation on your hands if you want to trade your top guy later.
Well, I tell you what, I took Tom Brady, who was also in my top 10 quarterback. I got him in round 10 of a fantasy draft that I took part in last night as my starter. And this was when people were starting to take their backup quarterbacks on their team, 12-team league. I was thrilled to get Tom Brady in that particular league at that point. I'm going to agree with you. I go with Tom Brady. I have him ranked up slightly higher on my board than Cam Newton, who went about 5 rounds before Tom Brady. So I was pretty happy. Hey, we're going to put you on hold, Smitty. We'll bring you up on the other side, continue the conversation. And I've got more questions for you, and I know we've got those bold predictions that you want to talk about.
Yep, see you then. Okay, so we're on hold for another segment, and then he'll bring us back. We might even do 2 more segments or 1 more, I'm not sure. But hit me with some questions. Ridley at wide receiver 2. Yes, I don't know what the, let's see, Crank got Edelman. Ask it again. Ask the question again. AJ for Melvin. I go get Melvin. Got Zeke and Thomas in 2 rounds last night. In 2 rounds last night, Zeke and Thomas. Back to back, you mean, Brandon? That's great. That's great. Bench Adams this week, depends on who you got. Evans or Edelman? Evans, Dylan. Duke Johnson, what about him? Do you think Kelsey and Lindsey for Kamara McCaffrey is a fair trade? No. Ian, I think anybody that made that trade in my league, we would look to replace the next year. Thank you, Nation. Just finished a 16-team draft. Woo boy, says Gamer. Miles Sanders or Jarvis PPR? I go with Jarvis until Miles gets a foothold. Tariq Cohen, startable? Yeah, as a flex, but depends on your options. Should I start Cook, Armstead, or McCoy? Take a lap. Cook by a mile. Give up Latavius or Sanders for Melvin Gordon? Absolutely, I'd give up both of them for Melvin Gordon, if that answers your question, Lemon Pepper. If that answers your question, lemon pepper, drop Pollard for Snell. Already have Samuels. I assume you mean Samuels, not Samuel. And I would consider it, but I think I would probably look to try and trade Pollard to the Zeke owner. First overall pick in 3 minutes, PPR, Zeke or Barkley. I take Zeke. I don't know why. They're both great. You could argue either, but Zeke's going to eat. Get Pollard. Pollard will fall a lot further now, but go get Pollard for sure. Should I drop Herndon for Singletary? No, Kills. You should have already dropped Herndon for Singletary. Take your lap. Thoughts on Duke Johnson? I like Duke. Or are you taking Zeke? Zeke at number 2, Kamara at 1. I've been that way all offseason except for
And celebrating their 26th
during this holdout talk. I've moved Zeke temporarily to 4 with the caveat that I said that he goes back to 2 immediately when he signs. But he never, even with the holdout, even if I was told he would hold out for 3 games straight, he doesn't move from 4. I wasn't moving Zeke from 4. Every single time I draft him at 4 with a smile. It was fantastic. We all benefited from that crap. Smitty, can Sammy Watkins be a stud? Not a stud, no. Not a stud. Should I trade for Tyler Boyd for Gordon? I think Boyd and Gordon are pretty arguable. I think I'd probably rather have Boyd.
Yard. Fantastic for barbecues.
But that doesn't mean that Josh Gordon can't outscore him or be better than him. He definitely could be. I like Gordon. I have Gordon in 1 or 2 leagues, and I'm pretty excited about him. Did you make Joe take a lap? I need to make Joe take a lap, Matthew. The counselor needs to take a lap. Yeah, 33 likes. What the hell? Come on, guys. Jake says 33 likes. What are you doing, people? Like it, like it, like it. Zeke now 1.1. Definitely arguable. 2 of 3. Aaron Jones, Damian Williams, Montgomery. Montgomery and Damian, because Jones has a tough matchup. But you have yourself a dilemma there for
Pest management, free inspection and free estimate.
Start Lamar or Rivers. Oh, Lamar Jackson. I'm like, Lamar. I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but Lamar Miller got hurt, but you threw me off for a second. Lamar. River. Trust your gut on that one. Rivers probably. MVS or Anthony Miller tomorrow. Probably MVS maybe, but that's a risk. If you like a dice roll, MVS. Who is this year's Tyreek Killer? Juju. Calvin Ridley, my friend. Calvin Ridley.
His money off your cap.
Monty in the morning.
Calvin
Weekdays till
Ridley, my friend. 25 runs, 5 catches for Brian says for Zeke. Smash that like button, says Jake. Thank you, Jake. Drop Thompson now that McCoy is there. Only 4-person bench. Probably depends on who you have available, but it sounds like you're going to have a lot of good people available. Let's see if we're ready. We are ready. We are ready. So I'm going to talk to Russ about Hilliard if he'll let me again.
Oh, one of my all-time favorite Metallica songs. Nicely done back in the studio.
Ian, that's just post that, Ian, again. Post the whole trade and let other people tell you.
Welcome back to the Red Zone, talking fantasy football, the NFL. I'm Russ Liss, live at Santisi Brothers. Come on out. You still got some time before I'm out of here tonight. Can't make it out tonight
Melvin.
in the next 30 minutes. I will be here again tomorrow night. The NFL season kicks off. The Green Bay Packers are at the Chicago Bears. I will be out here at Santisi Brothers at 5 o'clock, hanging out till 7. Look for the guy in the Rams jersey sitting right before the entrance to the game room. That's me. I'll have the Fantasy Challenge entries for you for week number 1. Only caveat, no 2 players from the same team, and once kickoff happens tomorrow night, I will not allow any entries with Bears or Packers. That's just that simple. Joining us on the program as he does every Wednesday evening in the 7 o'clock hour from the Fantasy Football Show and SleeperU.com, it is Smitty. Smitty, do you have any concerns about the 49ers running back situation turning into a committee with Matt Breida taking a lot more playing time away from Tevin Coleman than people expect?
A lot of concern, so much so I'm not going near it. I think Breida has probably got the advantage at this point, Russ, and that's hard to say because Coleman feels like the guy that we've been looking at to be the better option all offseason. So I think that should scare people away from that situation. I'm not going near it. There's a lot of better situation is if you're still have yet to draft, which is probably not likely because we're looking at games tomorrow. I have a few people telling me they're drafting tonight, but it's going to be more the case of can you trade these guys away before it's too late.
Now, I know you previously talked up Kansas City's Damian Williams and the rookie Darwin Thompson, but now that the Chiefs mysteriously signed LaShawn McCoy, has your enthusiasm dampened at all for either player?
I mean, you have to be a little bit down to know that he's getting $3 million. He's with Andy Reid. He probably knows the system more than the average person coming off the street, so he could learn it quicker. And that was the one advantage Damian had over anybody that they brought in or anybody that was on the roster. Is it's such a complicated offense in Kansas City. No one could be the de facto starter but Damian. And Damian, the thing about this, Russ, is at what was like all week this week, 5th round value for Damian because people weren't paying 3rd round value anymore. He was worth the risk again. He became a really good value grab. And again, I like to tell people to look at the history of this since he's been in Kansas City. Don't look at Miami or anything in the past. You can't separate the team from him. He is part of this situation, and he has never once faltered since the Chiefs have leaned on him. So if he's the 1A in a 1A, 1B situation, he still could produce low-end running back low running back one numbers. And the moment McCoy maybe gets hurt or doesn't prove to be as good as we thought he would be, which I think will probably be the case, we're back to where we were, and you got a screaming steal. And anybody, I like to say it this way, and I know this is a family show, Russ, but I think that we all felt like we got kicked in the nads when Damian Williams saw McCoy hit the roster, right? If you trade Damian away now or give up on him at low value, and he does end up being as good as we think he could be, or I think he could be, you're going to get the double whammy, the double nad kick, and it's going to be one of the worst feelings you're going to have all year.
We've talked about Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard and how important it is to handcuff the two of them together. But if you have Pollard but not Zeke, what do you think would be a fair deal to offer the Elliott owner as part of a likely 2-for-1 trade?
Yeah, you're going to have people acting like, oh, can I have Pollard? And then you say no, and they're like, well, whatever, keep him. They're going to play it off like they don't need him. But I think the smart move is to hold him much like you would hold a Madison, much like you'd hold a Darrell Henderson. He had that kind of appeal before there was any kind of holdout talk at all. So I think for people to just feel like this deflated value makes him droppable, I think is kind of crazy. And I would rather hold him and wait and see if he becomes more valuable and see if that Zeke owner comes back a week from now when they first come to you today and say, well, give me him. Okay, well, I don't want him anyways. But the best move you can make, Russ, is do some kind of move where you're slightly upgrading your running back. Let's say you move a DJ into or you move like, let's say, I'm trying to think of a running back, or like a Mike Evans into a Odell Beckham Jr., a Mike Evans into a Mike Thomas, and give them that backup. I've found that is a decent way to go about it. If you see the advantage between two very close players, you can go get your favorite guy if that owner owns him by giving him Pollard, because he's going to want to get rid of that fear that he once had. And having Pollard will definitely make that Zeke owner sleep well at night. Because look at him, he was like a potential low-end running back one if he was starting. I think Zeke owners need him, and the Zeke owners should probably pay not that kind of price. That's my price of trying to get over on somebody, but they should definitely consider paying a price they may be not comfortable with in order to lock down this situation.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head, because I was thinking along the lines of you take someone like let's say a Mike Evans or maybe a Adam Thielen, and you package him with Pollard to get yourself a Devontae Adams or a Michael Thomas. I think that is a fair trade offer to go ahead and make, and it gives the Zeke Elliott owner the peace of mind of having Pollard and still a really good wide receiver to go along with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Russ, can I talk real quickly about Dontrell Hilliard again, because I got cut off on that?
Yeah, sure.
So Dontrell Hilliard, I don't know how much you heard. Where did I get cut off?
I don't really recall where you got cut off.
Okay.
So just go ahead and start at the
beginning.
beginning.
So Nick Chubb I love Nick Chubb. Top 5 to 10 running back. but he's one of the most aggressive runners in the entire league. He's not only abusive to himself when he runs, he's abusive to anybody that tries to tackle him. Those kinds of runners can oftentimes get nicked up. He is also a big guy, big frame, and hitting the ground over and over and over is going to be a little bit more susceptible to injury than the average running back. Mix in the fact that he dislocated his knee and had that gruesome knee injury that you always got to kind of worry about with a heavy workload on those knees. I've been a big advocate of if you grab Nick Chubb, you have a top 5 to 10 running back lock, but you must get Kareem Hunt. And there are so many people passionately against you drafting a guy that's out half a season, and I get it. It's much like the debate of drafting a QB early or waiting. There are just two different kinds of drafters. I look to protect my top 5 to 10 running back of investment, especially when that running back I don't anticipate I'll need for 9 or 10 weeks anyways, Russ. So it's not like you're going to use Hunt even if he was in there for the first 9 weeks. You're hoping you don't use him for those 9 weeks. So why people act like him being out 9 weeks means anything, he is, if in that lineup in week 11, 12, 13, when it counts the most, when a lot of running backs leave you hanging, Hunt would be an absolute beast and not miss a beat, maybe even be better because that situation is so good. But he is out for half the year, which means that somebody needs to protect that front end situation if he gets hurt from weeks 1 to 8 or whatever. And Dontrell Hilliard impressed me so much in that opening drive where that Cleveland offense was on fire. And they used Chubb, they used Hilliard, they passed to Hilliard. If Chubb goes down, I have a funny feeling Hilliard's going to be the guy everyone races to grab, and you can grab him now.
Well, you just about have sold me on it because as I was telling Gary Davenport in the first hour of the program, I own a lot of shares of Nick Chubb in my leagues. And I have not handcuffed him to anybody because I think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy running back. I think he's going to stay healthy throughout the entire season. I just have a very strong belief about Nick Chubb going into 2019. Of course, now I've had strong feelings about other running backs in the past. Sometimes I've been right. Sometimes I've been wrong. That's just the nature of our business. But I'm really glad to hear you talking up Hilliard because now I feel like as though maybe I should go ahead and drop that number 6 wide receiver on the roster and go get myself that peace of mind.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the thing about it, Russ, is that if you're in a deep league, you can do this. If you're in a league where you can only roster 3 running back bench guys, you can't do it. You're in a Yahoo league, you probably can't do it. So you got to know the context of it. But the bottom line is this. I get those gut feelings, Russ. It's like I said earlier before it cut out. I think I unfairly get tagged as the guy that goes mostly gut without the stats and all that. I mix in so much stats. Like when I talk about Darrell Henderson, I pour the stats out and bleed stats when I talk about Darrell Henderson and how I think he's the most explosive running back to come out of college in 2018 into 2019. But with Hilliard, we don't have a lot to go on. So Hilliard is going to be more of those gut calls. And when I see him play, I see him filling that role just like he's not missing a beat. And if something happens to Chubb, he's the guy. He has to be the guy. So if you want to protect Chubb and don't want to spend money on Hunt or hold a spot for Hunt, then Hilliard's the easy alternative for you to at least get you through half the year. And Russ, I have a weird gut instinct that this guy is going to be relevant, and he'll be the Phillip Lindsay where everyone's racing week 1 and 2 to go get him. And like you said, your last wide receiver, who's that? You know, you're not worried about backing up Nick Chubb. I'm not saying you in particular, Russ, but I mean in general, who's somebody's 6th wide receiver? You know, like a Corey Davis? Like, drop Corey Davis, get Dontrell Hilliard, and back up your top 5 to 10 investment. You know, that's all I'm saying.
It's one of the reasons why I love having you on the show, Smitty. You always bring the passion. You've got strong opinions, and that's what it's all about, in my opinion, for fantasy football. It's not about being wishy-washy. It's about having an opinion, sticking with it. When you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong. You own it either way, and you bring it. Now, that leads me to, of course, one of our favorite things to talk about, bold predictions. Who are the guys that no one's talking about whatsoever or barely talking about or just recently started talking about that you think people should know about right now?
Yeah, the guy that I think we just mentioned, Hilliard, is the guy that no one really sees coming at all. And he's a risk. Could he bust? Sure. So he's one. Devin Singletary, I've been pumping up all offseason. He's rising up the ranks, but he's still very undervalued. I think he could be so much better than people are expecting. Calvin Ridley, I think has the potential to be that wide receiver like a Juju that comes not necessarily out of nowhere, but people are expecting good things. But I think Ridley could deliver elite wide receiver numbers, or at least start dancing and having a cup of coffee with the number one wide receivers in the league, at least exiting this year and heading into next year as the guy we're like, is this the next Juju? He could have that big of a season. Especially Julio worries me every year, and I avoid him, Russ, just to a degree, to where I take Odell, even though Odell's got injury risk too. I take Mike Thomas, I take Adams, and then I start looking at Julio at a place where normally he doesn't fall, which is like 14, 15 overall. Because I think Ridley's going to absorb a lot of those touchdowns like he did last year, and I think Ridley's going to take a big step forward. And then my boy, Darrell Henderson, who I think people are soured on now because Todd Gurley's been running. He's running, Russ, and everyone's so excited. He's been climbing back up. He was number 1 or number 3 overall when I started my No Todd Gurley campaign back in January. Fell all the way to the 3rd round. Now he's back up around 9 to 14. And everyone's saying Darrell Henderson's preseason makes him droppable, nowhere to go, no one to go near. But 9 to 12 touches a game for the biggest home run hitting back in the entire college draft class. Number 1 in college football history, Russ, in yards per attempt. In the history of college football, number 1 in yards per attempt. And he had 8.9 yards per carry in 2018, 8.9 yards per carry in 2017. More 20 and 40-plus runs than anybody in the nation last year. You give a guy like that 9 to 12 touches in that Rams offense, he's going to pop one probably 9 or 12 times, or not once every 9 or 12 times.
You know, you mentioned Darrell Henderson. What about Malcolm Brown? The Rams matched the offer to bring Malcolm Brown back to Los Angeles. If something were to happen to Gurley, don't you think that there would be a pretty even split between those two?
It definitely could start that way, but I think, like I'm saying here, with a guy that is the most explosive runner to come out of college in a long time, because of, in the stat, that's not opinion, that is fact based on those numbers. Like, no one has numbers even close to that, Russ, across the board. He is a home run hitting machine, and you give a guy like that 9 to 12 touches like they say they plan to, I think it will be impossible to keep this guy off the field when he's scoring touchdowns. And he's one of those guys where it could be like the first carry, he takes it house. He is so explosive. I cannot wait. And even if he starts slow, Russ, even if they don't even use him much in week 1 for whatever reason, I'm not going to detour from my campaign of telling people that you can't lose your league investing in this guy at 8th and 9th round value, and now that drafts are over, equivalent trade value of 8th and 9th round, and he's a free agent in some leagues because he got soured. Everybody soured on him from the preseason, from having a bad preseason. You can't lose your league if I miss this, but you can certainly win your league if I hit it.
Smitty, we've only got a few more seconds before the music starts. Actually, the music just started up. Okay, 10 seconds. Super Bowl prediction.
Kansas City wins it.
Oh, I think we lost him before he could give us that.
Kansas City. Kansas City.
Kansas City against who?
Give me time. I'm on till next week to give you that. But Kansas City wins it. I know that.
Okay, I think we're cutting out. Smitty, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
There you have it. Show number 2 in the books. That's always a fun time. I always look forward to this CBS Sports 1580, the Fanatic radio show that we do. Russ and I have been doing it longer than anybody. Gary Davenport as well, who was on just before me. He does the first hour with Russ. I do the second. That's the format of the show. And man, I've been doing it 16 years. Russ has been doing the whole show, the whole program, 23. There is no longer running radio show in the world. There is no longer running radio show on the planet than this one right here. What do I think I can get for Kelsey and Lindsay? I don't know, but you couldn't get what you had said earlier. That was just way too much to ask. In fact, I wouldn't give you Kamara alone for Kelsey and Lindsay. To just give you a feel of what Kamara's value is, because I think that deal involved Kamara. Word to your mama. Right back at you, Brandon. All right, guys. Instagram, thank you for watching the show live there on Instagram. I'll let you guys watch the whole thing. Crazy kids. Later, Instagram. And I will see you guys later. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll answer 2 or 3 more questions, then I'm going to hit it. But if you haven't, monkeyknifefight.com. monkeyknifefight.com. Let me show you guys what promo code to use so that you can go over to monkeyknifefight.com and win yourself some cash money right here. Go to monkeyknifefight.com, use promo code Smitty, and you will get yourself a match up to $50 on your first deposit. It's like prop-style betting. Think of it like parlays and things like that. It's so exciting. You're going to see this all over the place too, Monkey Knife Fight. Enter code Smitty, and they'll match up to the first $50. Killed it, bro. Have a good night. Thank you. Review that. I appreciate all of you. Last question. What's your favorite flavor? Wings? Regular, like medium wings? Mitch Trubisky, 35 TDs. I'm going to say under. And that was fun, says Jake. You were correct, Jake. Thank you guys for everything. You guys rock. Best followers, fans, and best people to talk to and shoot the shot with in terms of fantasy football and just regular life. Such an awesome group you guys are. Thank you, Ian. I do go live often. Not every night, but a lot. All right, guys, take it easy.